Hey guys, I'm Vane, and welcome back to another episode of VLR, Virtue slash Reward, or Zero Escape, Virtue slash Reward. This will guarantee to be the final episode. I may take a break or two, if I get something, if something happens, I'll step away for a bit, and then I'll probably return. It will be like either a different shirt, same shirt, whatever it is, that ends up being the case. But otherwise, yeah, we will, take any necessary breaks if I have to. But this will be the guaranteed final episode this time, because I didn't anticipate this epilogue chapter or flow note thing here in the novel section to be like extremely long and unnecessarily long. And I'm reading all the characters' dialogue, which means that I might not even get to be like sitting here and let it play out, because usually when they read it, it's a lot more quicker because of the fact that the Japanese side is like when the Japanese dialogue happens, or the Japanese dubbing, it's a lot more simple, because sometimes it could be just one word sentences that says a big part of the thing. Like it's like usually when I hear like it's not the case, you would hear chigau, which is like not the case, like different is what they're saying, but in actuality it's just saying it's not the case, or it's not the same, or it's not what you think. Like it's a contextual based dialogue. So in the case of them doing this, is making me read it in English, so it's just like I have to read them in their voice and also kind of try to read it as fast as I can. But yeah, let's get through this episode, and then quickly finish the series once and for all, and then we can move on, because I'm kind of burned out from this game a little bit due to how much dialogues and how much stuff we went through, which I'll talk about more at the end of this episode, because I will share my thoughts and opinions on this game as a whole, based on what I thought. I just kind of started the thought process in the last episode, but now that I'm here, I can probably have a better sit down and really bring it all out in my head and figure out what I want to say out of it. Alright. Oh, hey, Kyle. Figured you'd come here eventually. Where's Dr. Clem? Luna said you were here with him. Luna said you were with him. He said he was tired, so he was off resting right now. There's a bedroom at the end of the hallway. He's in there, and he's in there if you're curious. Oh, right. He told me to turn on his hologram projector thing when you showed up. Want me to start it? Sure. Probably his message to Kyle. I'm gonna read it like the normal Sigma that I usually have it at. Glad to see you. There isn't anything in particular that I have to tell you. However, I imagine there are some great number of things weighing on your mind. I'd love to answer all your questions, but unfortunately my circumstances make them an impossibility. I hope you can forgive me. Everything I know, Fi should also know. I have instructed her to answer any questions anyone might have. Anyone other than Kyle, that is. Really? So Fi would be the one who answers all our questions? What does he mean, other than Kyle? Who knows? Is there anything you want to ask? Right, well, I guess I may as well cut to the chase. Just who are you, Fi? I'm not Superman, that's for sure. And I'm not Batman, or Spider-Man, or Aquaman, or a merman, or a werewolf. Truth be told, they're lucky Batman is actually, no, Batman's not there yet. Batman and Spider-Man and Superman are not creatively common. Like, it's not free for use yet. Like, there's still copyright infringement for using their name. Like, their trademark is still active on the three names. Not until 2028, I believe, and 2030, I think, is when Batman and Superman comes up as, like, free use for the public. Like, there's no copyright infringement anymore, or trademark infringement, or stuff like that. Because, by law, after 100 years of its creations, it is up to the public use. Like, it becomes a Creative Commons IP trademark, so that means that they don't get ownership, but they can still have like property that belongs to some. Like, if let's say if Warner Bros was like, or not Warner, yeah, I guess Warner Bros or DC, whichever. If one of them creates a comic book about Spider-Man, or not Spider-Man, Batman, Batman number 30, let's pretend like that's the comic book number. If somebody was like, oh, I'm going to make comic book Batman number 31, but it's not under not under Warner Bros. Or DC supervision, and it's just like a doujinshi, where it's just like it's an independent doujinshi, like it's somebody who made it themselves, like a Japanese version of Batman 31, and it's like so different from the 30. I think it should be okay, but I think that it copyrights it goes into more legal matters, as I think it tramples onto ownership of what that Batman comic book series would be like, because the ownership belongs to whoever it is with copyright work. But I don't know. It's a very tricky matter, I think, in the future when we see these very popular IP names, and you can't. I mean, for me, I feel like you don't use Batman, Superman. It should be like, or Spider-Man, because they probably didn't have any permissions to use them, even though they're trademarked still. So I'm just like, this is kind of tricky to do that. The localizers should probably pay attention to what they say, because these names are not not a good thing to do. I would say that I'm a little worried about that, especially with the fact that they don't put TM. I mean, that's why we meme. Like when I talk to friends, we'll meme the idea of like, I forget what the keywords was. Like it was something TM. But like just kind of like the idea that trademarking something is just like saying that's an official something. But yeah. Anyways, point is, don't use that name if it's a commercial project without permissions of the DC, Warner Bros., the license holder, basically the IP, the trademark holders, because that it isn't going to fly very well in the sun of things. I'm not a Brahmin or common or ramen. I'm not a Cayman either, so don't really need to worry about. Okay, whoever translates all these things, they need to really calm down with this stuff. I really think they're going a little too heavy-handed with these weird things. Can we just say, like... Can we just leave it to normal, like a normal dialogue? I just feel like this dialogue just makes me worse off with how the ending's going so far. It's like, I want to go straight to the ending. I don't want to hear this random baloney. Please don't dodge... Oh, wait, this is not Sigma. Please don't dodge the question. About 5 hours ago, Akane attacked you with a knife. That triggered something, which sent your mind back to the past, correct? Right. Specifically, you went to point D, April 13th, 2029. So this is not the Phi we know, was it? This is a different Phi. On that date, your body was already in Akane's custody. Although, by then, you were in cold sleep. You wouldn't have regained consciousness, but your mind was now inhabiting that body. That pod was your home for 45 years. You slept there, frozen, until the time was right. Then, on January 25th, 2074, you were finally thawed out, even though you didn't wake up. Still unconscious, you were carried to the AB room. That was when your consciousness changed bodies again. A version of you from December 25th, 2028 arrived, pushing you out, and sending you back to December 25th, 2028. Oh, is it the fact that Phi is the one who can stop the Nevada test site thing? This is when you finally woke up. In 2028, you found and joined forces with Sigma, whose older mind was inhabiting his younger body. Together, you attempted to infiltrate Mars mission test facility. So this is really just fully, like, heavy-handed explaining of what really went down for Sigma and Phi, like why they're important to this particular Mars mission thing, or this Radical 6 thing. Unfortunately, your plan failed. The Radical 6 did escape on New Year's Eve. Sorry, I was thinking New York Eve. I was like, what? That failure determined the path you followed. Instead of going along the line that branches out to the right from point E, you headed straight to point D. Point D being April 13th of the following year. That was the day when you made your way to Akane's hideout and asked to be put into one of the treatment pods. Oh, I see. So Phi was the result of the failure of not being able to stop the Radical 6. So the person that Phi was, that said, hey, put me in that pod now, is the person who already knew that she needs to be in that pod for the future self to kind of connect back to the original point of this whole timeline so far that we're in. Another consciousness enters your body around that time from the future. It is, of course, the version of you that left your body when Akane attacked you in the garden. This caused the two versions of you to swap places. And you move 45 years into the future where you woke up in the garden floor. That puts you on the line that comes here. So, if we discount the time you spent in cold sleep, for you, only 3.5 months have passed since that happened. That being when you were sent back into the past from the gardens. Have I missed anything? No, everything you talked about you got right. What do you mean by that? I'm kind of unknown. I'm an unknown variable in this equation. You can think of me as a kind of X factor. It's taken me the last 3.5 months to understand it, and I haven't understood anything in the last 3.5 seconds. Could you please explain? Huh? You don't need to explain what an X factor is. She herself doesn't know what she's. She's saying she doesn't understand what her position is either. She's just here now after all that whole mess has just gone through. Like, everything that had happened, she has no clue why she's also here either. Like, she's just assuming the position here because that's what she is now, apparently is. It's kind of like the relationship between classical mechanics and modern physics. Strictly speaking, you can't combine velocities with v1 plus v2. Velocity 1 v and plus velocity 2. Velocity 1 plus velocity 2 divided by 1 plus velocity 1 times velocity 2 divided by c to the 2 is the actual equation. Of course, the sort of velocity we encounter in day-to-day life don't come close to being c divided by 2, or c power to the 2. I don't know why I say divided. C to the power of the 2, which is the speed of light quartered. I see. C is the measure of light, the speed of light. That means that 1 plus v1 times v2 divided by c to the power of 2 is usually going to evaluate to something pretty close to 1, which is just the normal speed, I guess, of 1. The one velocity, which is 1 miles per second, or 1 meter per second. Sorry, mile is an American term for meters in a way. It's not 1 to 1 meter. 1 meter does not equal 1 mile. It's just we typically use miles because I guess we just suddenly want to make the most unique measuring tape unit that is specific for Americans, I guess. I really don't know why we don't use the what do we call it? The scientific measurements. I don't know why we don't use the global scientific measurements, really. I just don't. I guess Americans want to be Americans, or that we have people who inherently bought those like we inherent, like, I feel like companies have brought their terminology and brainwashed all of us in America to be like, yeah, it's miles, yeah, it's like liters or something like that, or not liters, ounces, yeah, because ounces is not even used outside of America, I don't think. It's like usually liters or milliliters or gallons. I think gallons is still considered parts of it, I think, but it's liters usually for volumes of liquid. I don't know, it's just funny to me just seeing this. Since that would mean dividing by 1, it's usually okay to just skip that step and use v1 plus v2. You see what I'm saying? So everything just boils down to just the simple equation of generalization. In most situations, it works, even if it isn't technically correct. So, you know enough to get the stuff you were talking about, right? As long as you stick to that, you won't run into any problems. I don't quite understand. In fact, I feel like you're dodging my questions. You are dodging my questions. So, was that what you wanted to ask about? No. What I really want to know is what really happened between Christmas and New Year's Eve in 2028. You and Sigma infiltrated the Mars mission test site, didn't you? Yes. What happened there? How did Sigma lose his eye and both his arms? And why was Radical 6 in there in the first place? What could a deadly virus have to do with a simulated mission to space? Sorry, but I can't tell you that. Why? Because it would change history. Huh? There's a history where the virus didn't escape. That's the line that goes to the right to the point E. Right of point E. In that timeline, humanity isn't heading for annihilation and Earth isn't red. The future is much brighter. Wait, how would she know that? How can you assume that when we don't know? How can you assume it when we're not there at all and we don't know that? But if I tell you what you're asking me right now, then that reality will disappear. Really? I don't think so. That doesn't work like that. It's like saying it's like me saying this. If I was born a different gender, then that existence of me existing differently wouldn't exist. Which is true. It doesn't exist anyways, because we don't see that. What's the point of telling me, like, let's say if you have a bad future and a good future. The bad future, let's say is, actually, no, let's say the good future is here right now. We're in the good future. And we talk about, oh, what happens if this would have happened? We would have had a bad future. That doesn't mean that thing doesn't exist. It does exist in that reality because we think it exists. When we think about it, it exists. When you say something about it, it exists. Without thinking of it and without bringing it up somewhere in time, I don't think it matters. It won't exist. And that means that it always has no existence to begin with. Because it all comes down to a point where I think we bring it up that it exists in reality. I think is how it works. Alright. You understand? I don't. Why would all of it disappear if you just told me what I want to know? You're about to go back to the past, right? The past? Don't be silly. I can't do that. Then where the hell did you learn all this stuff? I just listened to you tell me a bunch of things you shouldn't have known about. You were sleeping in the pod in the garden. You just woke up. Oh, that makes sense. So how can you know all of this? You know my past, Sigma's past. It just goes back to the garden. Oh, Akane. I shall give you your answer. You are not Kyle Klim. Your body is Kyle's, but your consciousness is not. Think about it. Do you really believe you are Kyle? Of course I don't believe I'm Kyle, of course. Or could you be someone else entirely? Then, where is the real Kyle's consciousness? He was thrown out when you entered. Right now, in a manner of speaking, he has arrived at December 25th, 2028. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, because it's a loop. It's a perpetual loop. His consciousness has gone into a body from that time. I doubt you know much more how much the doctor loves Kyle. He raised him on his own. Kyle is irreplaceable. Do you really think that he would go back to the past and leave Kyle behind him? I know what I told the others. That Kyle was Dr. Klim's spare. But that was his own purpose. His only purpose. Kyle's consciousness is integral to what we are trying to accomplish. This new mission begins on Christmas and ends on New Year's Eve 2028. Its purpose will be to infiltrate the test facility and prevent the spread of the virus. For this to happen, Kyle is absolutely necessary. And this is why he created him? Yes. And now that my consciousness has entered his body, the doctor has achieved his objective. Kyle has gone back to 2028 to participate in his mission. Correct. There's one thing that troubles me, though. Kyle was created before reaching point B and point D. From point B to point D. That means his body does not exist on Christmas in 2028. Does that mean he enters my body? Have we just swapped places? I suppose you could put it that way, yes? That's ridiculous. What's going on? What's going to happen to me? Are you telling me that I have to spend the rest of my life here in this box, living in a borrowed body? No, not at all. You can travel freely through time and space. You are an uncontrolled variable that entered our closed system. As such, the rules of this world does not apply to you. I have no idea what you... Please don't try to play dumb. I know what you are. Surely you must know by now too. Yeah, I know what it is. You are about to go into the past and save the world. Flying Sigma, even with all his future knowledge, will need your help. Only you can right the horrible wrongs of our past. Only you can save the world. There's no way I... Yes, there is. You have to. Don't you want to know the truth? Don't you want to know what happened in between Christmas and New Year's Eve in 2028? Well, yes I do, but then you must believe. Reality is shaped by what we believe reality should be. If observation can change the motion of a particle, then how is it odd to think that human thought can shape reality? Your will can change history. The world will be reshaped into the one you imagine. And that's the end, I bet. Remember what I've told you. Only you can change history. Only you can save the world. The end of the game and the achievement unlocked, I bet. Alternative ends. And I got... You found it, a certain point of view, achievement unlocked. A certain point of view found... a certain point of view, achievement unlocked, and you found it, achievement unlocked. Alright. That's the end of the game, actually. Because that's all there is to... That's Akane's ending, I guess, in a sense. Yeah, so that's the... Oh, that's another Akane ending. I didn't realize there was an Akane's face right here. That's interesting. Alright, so that's it for VLR, actually. Oh god, I forgot about this. They're gonna push me through this again. Speed through it. Oh, no, I oversped it. This one's not going any faster. There we go. Save, quit. Yes. Cool. Is there a way to get to credits? No? Okay, I guess not. Alright, cool. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys... Oh, no, wait, we're already done with the series. I forgot about that. I seriously forgot that we were at the end of the series. Alright, thank you guys for watching Virtue/Reward, or joining along with me through this adventure of a game, a visual novel of a game, Virtue/Reward. This will be the last episode, as I said. I was gonna go and get to the ending of this. I will share my thoughts and opinions now, so if you guys are done watching overall and don't care about what I have to say or think, because you saw all my reaction throughout this 100 plus episodes, which is ridiculous that it was this long, then thank you for joining me and sticking along as you can, and appreciate you guys for joining along. I want to say that this series really drains me. It burned me out, really, actually. I mean, I'm good at tolerating pushing forward through to the end of a game. I kind of do that a lot nowadays, which is kind of weird because they're... Oh, geez. Nope. I don't want to see the... Oh, God, is the opening sequence. Yeah, I think the best thing I can do is just put up in the options menu or something. Alright, I'll go and continue, I guess. Shoot. Let me go to the director's office and kind of, like, put up a memo place, I guess. Yeah, this would be my best way of doing whatever. To kind of stop it from doing weird stuff. But yeah, this is gonna be the end of the series. But yeah, sorry, I lost thought because that thing did the thing that it did. It burned me out really fast, not fast, like really, really deeply, because it's like, it kept making me go through so much of the flow over and over and over and over and over again. Although there were minor changes here and there was just not enough to make me feel like I really could get a sense of anything going on. Like, it just felt very repeated too often, to a point where I'm just like, I really wanted to stop playing overall. I've spoken with people who tried to attempt playing the game. At least one person I know who tried to play the game through, but just gave up on the first trial of like one whole branch down, and they just gave up right off the bat because it's just too much effort to go through the whole thing. And I've seen another person who just finished all of it like I am right now. And it's kind of true that this game is really just lengthy for the sake of just so much convoluted like storytelling. At the end of this game, I think that the whole time traveling and the whole like alternate universe thing was cool and nice, but there's just too much going on. Uh, I just wish there was not that kind of point of problem, but there was. It's written in a point where they kind of drew themselves to the corner, like they wrote themselves to a corner, and I think that it's kind of like not great that they couldn't. They tried to heavy-handed explain every single thing almost, yet also try to push for a sense of explaining everything to a fault almost. Like they're trying to cover all their plot holes, but then they also want to leave a mystery to it, which they kind of did. They kind of left us at a semi cliffhanger at the end of this like last part of the story, where it's just saying, "Hey, you're here to fix the problem." It's like, yeah, but the problem is not going to be fixed here because this whole thing here in VLR is going to be stuck as a perpetual same state kind of issue where we don't know what's going to happen in the future because we won't see it here. We will see it in another game potentially is what it's trying to explain it as. And so that's what Zero Time Dilemma probably is related to, is the fact that we try to save the future with a third installment of the game because it's related to Sigma and potentially Tenmyoji / Junpei because they're both there as characters that make sense to the story because they both... Junpei is here as Tenmyoji and is related to the story. So I'm guessing he's going to show up again on the third one because that's how they connect the story together, is to have Junpei in all three games and then just be like a connective tissue of all three games all together as a trilogy. But I just feel like it shouldn't do that because the second game kind of convoluted everything in the story. 999 was perfectly placed and encapsulated and just in that one contained story, and it was great. I loved it, and I played it, and I really deeply enjoyed that one because that one was way more like mysterious, like nothing is just it's not a big plot, but here it's like a whole massive plot. The world is involved, the people in this thing is just all like not robot, like the robots or the humans. It's just too many things, too many pseudoscience things being smushed together, and I felt like it was cool that they wanted to explore that, but I think it's a experiment that really doesn't connect well together because of how many conveniences that they have to develop for the plot to make it work together is there. So I think that this game kind of hurt itself by trying to do too many things at once when they should have just focused on the time mechanics or the pass in time and the thoughts of alternative universe. I think that the solution for fixing the story would be so difficult because they've already wrote themselves, as I said, wrote themselves into a corner where they're like they have to use it somehow. If they don't explain it or have any part of like characters questioning about that problem or that plot, then it becomes a problem where it's just a plot hole forever in this game. So if there is a problem, then they need to like explain it in the next game for sure. But here it's just already pretty worse off on its own in this case. But I do appreciate that they go back, to the old mechanic of rewinding to different points in time and going through a different exit to an ending of sorts. But it's just also super duper lengthy. This game is super long. I'm already at 130, I think. We're on the 130 episodes, I think at this point. Like, I just feel like there's just so much going on. There's so much, like, to do. Like, I kind of feel like that's why the burnout also got exponentially larger, is because there's just so many different endings you have to achieve, and you have to, like, go back to the other ones to unlock the next ending sometimes. And it becomes a big problem where we're just trying to go through a lot of it. And I just didn't appreciate the fact that it just ate up all that time to go and do all that stuff. It's just like, why waste this much time on that kind of thing and make me go through all that stuff? So yeah, I think the story and the narrative side of things were like, it's okay, but it still has the issues that are there that makes me feel like I don't know why I thought like, why do we have to go through these convoluted story parts or convoluted explanations of stuff when you could have just left it, some of them at being a mystery of sorts, or keep it simple and watered down so we don't have to think about it because they're not very important to the story. Like, it doesn't affect the story nor the characters. It's just explaining the world, quote unquote, that we don't even get to ever explore ever. So it's like there's no point in explaining that unless it plays a role in Zero Time Dilemma, as I said. But besides the narrative, I do think the dialogues were great. I like the voice acting. The voice acting, spot on, perfect, all good. But my problem was also partly because of translation, the localization. There were some parts of it that felt a little bit too convolutedly written, or trying too much to play around with the writing. It felt like it just diverted the feeling of difference. Like, for me, I think writing in a game like this would have to be very in line with the tone of everything. There was a few jokes here and there that was acceptable, and I agree that's fine. Like the bikini jokes, I can kind of see why Sigma would do that. But then I kind of feel like it goes off tangent way too far off when it's not like in like early on when we had the poster of a bikini girl. Totally understandable. He's just like, I want to see, like, not me, but Sigma wanted to see like girls in the bikini. Get it? I got it. But then randomly bringing it up near the ending, where he's just like, "Can I get a reward for this?" And the bikini reward. It's like, what? Why do we need to go back to that weird ass like thinking now at this time? It's like, what the heck? And it's weirder too because old Sigma is the one who's calling for it, not young Sigma, because he thought he was young, so that's why. But anyways, point is, the writing in the case of like that kind of tone, I feel like if it was meant to be a thing in the later stage where the writing where they're asking for bikini and stuff, then I feel like fine, whatever. But like there are some points where they just felt like they were convoluting the languages, like when they say one simple thing, they blast you with like two sentences. I'm just like, why? It's like Chigao, and then it's like brrr. And it's like, why? Why do you put so much lines to it? Like, it's saying, like, I don't think so. In English, it's just, like, blasted with the, like, long-ass statements here and there. But, I think the translation could have been better if they gave them more time. I do think they need to give the translators a little bit more time to at least not do that kind of thing and, like, go straightforward, rather. Like, go for the straightforward, simple solutions. And then if the joke's allowed and the developers was, like, kind of going to that point, which I don't think they did sometimes, but the translators thought that that they just blast us with, like, a whole lot of, like, weird stuff that didn't make any sense to be included. Here, the example we just had in this episode was the whole physics equation thing, and I'm just like, if that is how they explained it in the game, okay. But if it's like, hopefully it's not like they just added it in to make it more convoluted where it's not meant to be. That's what I kind of worried about throughout some parts of the localization or translation that kind of made it hard for me to really understand the tone sometimes. Or if they or if the voice acting was there, it's just like I prefer to hear the voice acting over what I'm reading in English sometimes, because I want to make sure I can kind of see what the topic is what they're trying to bring up, and it's just straightforward languaging. I know it's difficult though, because English we have a lot of nuances in our speaking, but in Japanese it's very straightforward. So it's easier to kind of like catch when it's just like a few things that you just need to keep attention to for the Japanese statements that are being spoken. But anyways, that's what I think about localization translation of this game so far. I'm glad I didn't get to do the English dubbing, because I don't think the English dubbing will do it justice due to the fact that it's a Japanese game and they have they have different meanings and tones in Japanese that English cannot reflect sometimes. So I much prefer that. Yeah, so that's it for the story stuff. Gameplay, I would say, is fantastic. I think there are some puzzle pieces that were a little bit too tough or was very unclear. But that totally could be on me sometimes, and sometimes it could just be the way they put it together, like what is available for the player to do and what can be done to solve the thing is kind of sometimes hit or miss, but a lot of times it hits. Like it does very well. And I love some of the puzzle rooms that they created here because they're really interesting. They're like, sometimes they make me think, like I had to do math. A lot of the times I'm just like, I have to do math here. I'm doing math. But I like that. I don't mind it at all, but I think that sometimes there will be ones that are just so confusing that I just had to look up a guide. So when I ever look up to the guide, I always think that it's either me who don't get it, or the puzzle is too convoluted or too complex to really get to a point where the player would be like, oh, I see what they're trying to go for, kind of thing. But otherwise, I think I like the puzzle a lot. I didn't hear any music, so I can't really say anything about that. Art is great. I like the art design and character design. I know I had a artist friend who was talking about how some of the silliness of the clothing were being designed for the characters is just not working out. For Alice specifically, she was looking at that. It was just funny. But anyways, yeah. Otherwise, I think overall this game is pretty. I feel like this game is great for those who didn't watch me play it. I think this is kind of the sad thing, is that if you watch me play through everything, the experience doesn't really hit home for those who are like watching it with me. Like they'll probably know the whole experience now, and they probably won't forget it or easily forget what's going on because there's so much stuff going on in it. But also that I kind of go on a tangent on some cases, I bet, for some parts of it that I feel like people will remember that spot of the scene because of that part of me talking about stupid stuff or going off on a tangent of random stuff. But I think that this game definitely is good for those who want to play blindly. Like, they played 999, they remember 999, and they want to see what this game is about because this is a sequel to 999. But if you really want to play through this for the achievement, that totally works out for you. I think this game has a lot of achievements for itself. But as I said again, it's pretty draining. It's pretty burning. Like, you can pretty much burn out relatively quickly if you're just trying to like get through the thing. I think this is definitely a good game for somebody who's interested in visual novels as well too. But I would say play blindly. Don't go following my lead in like, don't make me as your first playthrough. Pseudo first playthrough. Like, buy the game for yourself, play it, and experience it for yourself, and then watch me play it if you have the feeling or the interest of seeing a 100-episode series whatsoever. But if it interests you in buying this game, I recommend you check it out. I'll put a link down below to all the versions of the Zero Escape games. I forget what they're called. What is it? The Zero Escape... I'll tab. The Nonary games. Yes, I'll put all the links to the Nonary games pages for the game. Steam, consoles, whatever. I'll put all the links down below if you want to pick up this game for yourself. It includes 999 and VLR packaged into one. I really appreciate that the game is packaged into one. You get 2 games in one for one price of one. And I really like it a lot that they actually have all that. It's a really good puzzle game mixed with very heavy visual novel dialoguing with many different paths. And I really recommend those who haven't played it to try it out for themselves, of course, if they haven't seen all of it. If this is you just watching my review / opinion thoughts of the game, definitely check it out, of course. I mean, although there are some heavy-handed parts that I say, like there's some criticism that I bring up, but I don't think it should discourage you for trying it out. I would genuinely recommend it no matter what. If you're blindly going through this, I recommend it greatly because I think it's an experience that very much feels very unique, I think, to a player who doesn't think about pseudosciences as much. But if you like pseudoscience stuff, science topics, science fiction, this is definitely the path for you to try something like this for a visual novel type game. I don't think there's a lot of visual novels that do this. That is one of the key points I think that that the Nonary games hits and notes on, is like a very, very pseudoscience-y style storytelling, and I like it. I like that, and I appreciate that the developers went for that kind of like thing. I think the risk is there that they took, and they executed almost very well on trying to do that, and I like it for what they pull off in terms of making me talk about sciencey stuff, because I do like sciencey stuff sometimes here and there, and I have studied some science stuff, so it's just funny to me a little bit when I see something familiar or mathematical stuff. Yeah, so anyways, that's it for this episode, and that's it for the series. I will take a break from the Zero Escape series. There is one more game, Zero Time Dilemma. I kept mentioning it here and there. I will not be jumping into that immediately. I might jump into that very far in the future, unfortunately, because I feel like this game kind of burned me out from the trilogy and trying to finish it. So instead, I'll play another long game in place of this one, and you'll see what that is probably very soon, hopefully. We'll see what happens. So I'll be starting a new series that will be pretty lengthy as this, and running through that one will be probably a lengthy one. I don't know how long it will take me to beat that game, but we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in another game, another series, or another video of mine, and hope you guys have a great, amazing day. Good night to one watching this. Again, if you want to check out this game, buy it for yourself. I'll leave a link to all the Nonary games versions that you can find on like consoles and PC and stuff, and you guys can pick it up for yourself to try it out and play it for yourself. And otherwise, that will be it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Roz.